In our next segment, we have an esteemed group of panelists to join us for a sharing forum. The moderator of this session is none other than Mrs. Eunice Toh. She is the Head of Development Fund and Volunteer Management in Tan Tock Seng Hospital. She is also the Executive Director of Tan Tock Seng Hospital's Community Charity Fund. Eunice, may I invite you on stage, please? I would now like to invite our 6 panelists on stage to join us. Our pair 2 patient volunteers, Mr. Tushar Hari, up on stage, please. Mr. Duncun Ho. Our 2 representatives from patient support groups, Mr. Michael Poe from the Cardiac Rehabilitation Patient Support Group, Mrs. Dincy Lim of the Colon Cancer Patient Support Group, 2 members of the Tan Tock Seng Hospital healthcare team. We have Sister Magdalene Lim, a senior nurse manager, as well as Adjunct Assistant Professor Chong, a consultant from the Department of Urology.
Thank you, Jessie. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. When you think of a hospital, you think of the patients, you think of the doctors and the nurses taking care of the patients. At Tan Tock Seng Hospital, we are very lucky in that we have a big network of actually 715 volunteers, which 500 are very active. Now, today I have a small representation from this group of volunteers here to share with you what they do for our patients and how they do it. Starting with the very, very first volunteer, we have Tushar. When we think of volunteers, we usually think it's a local person, but Tushar is different. He's a foreign student, now a PR. 16-year-old Tushar is here to share. Tushar, can you tell us about your journey and your experience with our hospital's patients?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mrs. Eunice. I'd like to start by asking everyone, what is the job of a volunteer all about? It is meant to befriend the old patients, to share a laugh with them, and to overall bring them out of their boredom. I started my volunteering journey 10 months ago at the Dincy Community Hospital, and I would go there every Saturday to visit the elders. Volunteering has been such a wonderful and emotional experience for me because it gave me the chance to listen and interact with the patients. At times, most of the patients would come up to us and open up to us about their personal problems, such as family issues, or even the pain that they go through after the surgery. There have been certain cases as well where the family deserts the patient or even ill-treats them. And this makes them feel really left out and completely helpless. But when the patients confide in us volunteers about such troubles, they have a sense of relief because they know that there's someone out there who is looking after them, understands them, and cares for them. Personally, I also have a sense of fulfillment because I know that I've made someone else's day feel much better. My journey was great for the past 6 months, but there have been a few bumps on the way. For example, a few patients would not even want to talk to me, or they just could not express their own feelings. Another particular problem that I went by was the language barrier, which is a huge problem for me considering my status as a foreign student. I can speak French, Tamil, and English, but most of the patients could only speak Malay, English, or Mandarin, or other dialects as well. But even with this difficulty, I managed to get past the language and age barriers by playing games with the elders or organizing fun activities such as singing or participating in skits with the other volunteers. Such acts of gratitude or kindness do not need language to be communicated. All I can say is that my volunteering experience has been truly memorable, and I sincerely hope that everyone else has the same experience. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Tushar. Now, we'll move on to Duncun. I think Duncun was introduced a little earlier. Duncun is 28 years old. Despite a hectic schedule, holding a full-time day job as a researcher, Duncun volunteers not on one program, but two. All right, you see him coming weekends to manage the mobile library, and at night as a night sitter. Now, Duncun is amazing. Let's hear from you, Duncun.
Yeah, thanks, Eunice. Yeah. With regards to volunteering, it actually boils down to personal values, because what I actually personally believe that compassion is one of the few things in the world that we can practice and bring immediate and long-term happiness to ourselves and the others. And if we agree that it is a common aim for everyone to achieve happiness, then compassion is one of the tools for us to actually achieve that. And therefore, personally, I make it as a mission for myself to practice and to cultivate compassion in my life and make it a practice every day. And that's why it is with volunteering that I have an opportunity to actually reach out, connect, empathize with the patient, and actually alleviates their suffering. And if the patient actually opens up, that's good. If I manage to bring a smile onto their face, that makes my day. But if they don't, it's okay, because after all, I know that I actually reach out. If they don't, at least my reaching out, let them know that I see them suffer, I also suffer, and that itself is a very powerful thing to make me go on for volunteering. So for the next sitting, it's actually a program that it's actually a program where the volunteers actually go to the wards in the night from 9 to 12 p.m. or in the morning from 4 to 7 a.m. This is the period where the nurse to patient ratio is very low, and often they have a lot of things to do. For example, making vital checks on every patient, attending to them with regards to their medication, or assisting them to the toilets. So they have a lot of things to do, and that's where the patients sometimes feel a bit left out. And coincidentally, this timing is where these patients are often very restless. They often feel very lonely, and that's where we volunteers can contribute and come in and play a part. It's quite an irony that we actually come in, sit down there, watch the patient and not doing anything. But in fact, we are actually helping the nurse by looking after the patient, those with a high fall risk patient, preventing them from engaging any unsafe activities, thereby allowing the nurse to attend to other patients with more urgent needs. Additionally, sometimes we do attend to the patient requests. For example, small requests such as bring them water, serving them waters, or even biscuit to them. Because for some of these patients, it's more like it's their routine where they need to have a Milo before they actually go to sleep. And sometimes our nurses are so occupied that when this request is being made to them, right, it's not being attended immediately, and that's where the patient feels very frustrated. If we volunteers actually come out and do that little bit of and help them to access to all these needs, we actually in turn help to so-called interns reduce their frustration and make them feel a much more enjoyable stay in the wards. So for that, I actually move on to mobile library. And mobile library is actually a program that we actually comes in every alternate Sunday in the afternoon, where we go around into the wards to distribute magazines to the patients. So in the sense that this magazine is actually not, it's actually served as a purpose for us to break the ice with the patient, because most of our volunteers, especially the patient itself, they're actually quite shy to engage conversation with the patient. So these magazines, as we distribute out, it serves as an aid to break the ice. And if the patients are receptive, we do stay on and talk to them about the topics they like. And one of the simple topic could be like the food in the hospital. They have a lot of comments on it. And that is actually a common point where we can start to go on further with other topics. And that's also where we can start to actually explain to them that why is it that the hospital food is slightly less delicious than compared to the one outside. But it's a starting point, you see. Because as long as you strike a conversation with them, you have this opportunity to actually bring them out from their illness and also bring them out from their depression. And end of the day, when you leave, you see their smile, you know that they actually appreciate of your effort, and that itself makes my day. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Duncun. Now, we have seen the volunteers. Now we will meet the man himself. He's been introduced earlier, Michael Po. Michael Poe leads our cardiac rehab patient support group. Michael, can you share with us your journey?
Thanks, Eunice. Well, we are totally a different group. When you hear about cardiac rehab or cardiac cases, mainly old people will have this sort of illness. But today, it is totally different. Yes, I'm a survivor of AMI. I was rescued here, I drove here, I collapsed, and I was revived. So thanks to the great team at the A&E. Before 2002, there were no support group. So we embark on whenever I visit for review, I embark on the doctors and the nurses and physiotherapists, because the only activity that they organized was outing, sharing, and that's on an ad hoc basis. So I find that session very interesting. But then, we do not know when will be the next. So we go on and coax the doctor. They are so kind, and eventually a meeting was called. And in 2002, on 5th January, it was established. It was headed by the doctor and nurses, and I was one of the pioneers. And today, some of my members are here who have been with me since 2002, doing the exercise in the community. Some had bypass, some had PTCA, some has got nothing. Like me, I've had muscle damages. So we exercise every Sunday morning without fail, and we are a very neat group of support members. Without fail, rain or shine, 7:30 in the morning, we are there at the park. So our regular haunt is Hougang Stadium. Second Sunday at Punggol Park. We are open to all, irrespective of which hospital you come from. The management, volunteer management was so kind when we said, can we open up? Go out. Get anyone that has got heart problem to come and join you, not an issue. So we say thank you very much. So as we move along, we found that the demand is not only sharing and outing. It's more than that. On an ad hoc basis, we organize CPR, knowledge, very basic for caregivers, where they learn how to do CPR because they are the first line first aider at home. So we had a very successful course, attendance. And we also involve in bedside counseling. Not that professional counseling, but sharing. Patients who had doctors and nurses try to coax them to go for procedures, encourage them, but it doesn't work. So we will come as a visitor, visit the patient, talk to them, and eventually introduce ourselves as patients. Show them what we have gone through and what they will be expecting, the pre and the post. And they will have a new life again, like what I'm enjoying. Let me share with you some of our patients who have been with us and the benefits that we have seen on them and the caregivers. It makes us very happy and like to pursue further. There was this patient who was discharged and had joined us, and he's fairly new with the group. Very regular, every Sunday, very nice gentleman, very friendly. And every time, all of us will have a smile on our face. That's what Dr. William Wan says. You will live longer. Now, the son called up one night, late at night. The father told him, any member, just call. And they called one of our members. Late at night, he was hospitalized for some other ailment. He had brain hemorrhage. So he asked to see the support group. So we went. It was late at night. He was hospitalized, not here, but a hospital in the east. So we visited him. He was so happy, and he told the son, this is the group that I enjoy every Sunday. So the son looked up and said, boy, no wonder my dad really enjoyed the group. And not too long after that, the son called. My dad has passed on. We visited him, and we asked the son, can we have breakfast at the wake? And the family says, please. So we went there, see the family, and they were very happy. So this is one of it. And we have also various other journeys that we have following patients right through from consultation to the discharge. So this is much I can share. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Now, that's Mrs. Dincy Lim. Dincy has given me permission to reveal her age, right? She turned 80 in June. At Tan Tock Seng Hospital, our oldest volunteer is in her 90s, and she continues to visit other elderly patients and befriend other elderly patients. There are some elderly patients here that I would like to pay special tribute to. Mrs. Nellie Rowe, seated in front in her 80s from DTU. Mrs. Rosalind Wong and her team. They are a group of very special senior ladies, okay, not just elderly ladies, senior ladies. They are here every week. Now, we are very blessed. This is the same group that was founded since 1948, and it's still with us and still growing. Now, before this, the group here, you would have seen Rosalind at the Care Connect, opening the Care Connect Center, right? Now, we also have other members, but here I have Dincy here. Would you have guessed that she's 80? No, right. Very active, still very energetic. Dincy is different in the sense that she is a non-patient leading a patient support group, a very unique situation. Dincy, tell us all about it, please.
Thanks, Eunice. No, I'm not a colon cancer patient. 9 years ago, it was March, the Colon Cancer Awareness Month. Dr. Singh approached me and asked me to set up the support group here. I asked him for two things, an office and training. And he delivered both and added on the library. And I remember that day I was in the office, he walked in with so many books. Then I realized that's the biggest challenge in my life, to understand the colon cancer. And I needed to read, and I'm still reading. Now, at that time, I knew 4 persons who came down with colon cancer. I roped them in, and 5 of us began our training sessions, 8 training sessions. And by June, we launched the colon cancer support group and the colon cancer hotline. And we had media coverage at that time. Why? Because our story was a unique story. Our support group was a unique support group in that all the volunteers are cancer patients. So the response was so good, and we were so excited, and the hotline was really hot. And that was my first taste of colon cancer hotline. And then soon after that, we also began to offer face-to-face counseling. And I remember the first time Dr. Singh sent me a case. He was an elderly man. He came in with his son. And the moment he walked in, he was so angry. He just kept on talking to me that doctor made a mistake. He did not have cancer, and why should he go for an operation? And so he went on and on. He sat down. He was still ranting away. So I just listened. That was my first case. And before me, I had his endoscopy report. And I saw the number, the size of the tumor. So when he finished talking, I just said to him, I said, you know, the patient in this report has such a size of a tumor. So I showed him the ruler. I said, that is big and serious because it continues to grow, it will explode. And then we have an emergency case. Soon after that, he just got up. I thought he was angry with me now. And he told the son, let's get back to the doctor. Whoa, I sat there and I did it. My first case, I convinced him. So that was really great. And I just love face-to-face counseling. The patient sits in front of me, and I could read the body language, which is of great help. So now we're still doing face-to-face counseling at the clinic area, in the clinic area. And we continue with our hotline counseling. Our hotline number, if you're interested, is 6357-8366. Okay, apart from counseling, the support group has a social gathering every first Saturday of the month. And this is a platform for all Singapore colon cancer patients and caregivers to come, to find one another, to bond, to share, and to encourage one another. And so at every gathering, we would have a speaker to share with us a health issue, so in order that we could continue to live a good, healthy life. And this support group has a beautiful song we have adopted as our signature tune, and that is Diana Ross's Hold On Together. I'm sure all of you know this song, and it's so meaningful. And every time we members and caregivers we get together, we hold hands, and does something to our inner man. Our tears just flow. We just know that we're not alone. We are one in the bond of love, and together we're walking this cancer journey, and we have one another's support. So most of you, you're most welcome, and cancer patients I'm talking about, colon cancer patients, you're most welcome to come in, just to walk in any first Saturday afternoon at 2:30 p.m. And I have with me 8 cancer patients as my volunteer colleagues. And we have been together for quite a while, and they're all here to support me today as I'm talking about the colon cancer support group. Thank you for being here. And we know one another very well. We care for one another. And I am very mindful of their feelings of burning out. I'm really mindful of that. And so we are on a mission. I always say to my volunteer colleagues, we are on a mission to tell the whole world about colon cancer, that it is the second cancer killer in both genders. And that we must be bothered to go for a routine checkup. And if at the routine checkup we're found, colon cancer is found in its early stage and followed by surgical intervention, there is a cure. But we have to be bothered to go for routine checkup. And having said all that, I really appreciate to volunteer at Tan Tock Seng Hospital. And I'm very grateful to the volunteer management who always have time for me, for us, and always engage us in sessions of dialogue. And thank you.
Thank you, Dincy. It's always a pleasure to have you all with us. It's you guys doing the work, and we should naturally support, really. Yeah. And you've heard from the volunteers, the patient support group volunteers. Let's hear from Tan Tock Seng team itself. With us today, we have Sister Magdalene. Now, Sister Magdalene is the nurse manager in charge. She looks after the geriatrics, she looks after the recovery wards, and she has, she's the right person to tell you how the wards at the hospital benefit from the services and help from our volunteers.
Thank you, Eunice. Good afternoon, everyone. I have been working in the geriatric wards for more than 14 years, and I've seen a lot of dedicated volunteers coming through our department, not only in the day, but also in the night. This volunteer comes from very diverse background and age. Some of them in their 60s, 70s, and we have younger ones, like our two wonderful volunteers here, Duncun and Tushar. These volunteers comes in to engage with our patient, not only during, some of them will come in like in the school holidays, but others actually volunteer part of their day or evening, or sometimes even, and even during the weekends. And they come in on a very regular basis. In fact, their commitment indeed is very impressive. In the day, we have befrienders coming into the ward to engage with our patient. These befrienders, they will spend about 2 hours or more, and they will chit-chat with our patients, and they will listen to our patient. In the day, actually, we have nurses around, but our nurses, we are very busy, and we are unable to give them the dedicated time to at one-to-one basis. So actually, it's very encouraging to see them engaging, and when they are engaging, see them engaging with each other. They will do things like, they will do art and craft together. They will also like play board game together, or sometimes they will just being there for them. So as they will engage in their activities together, we see that they are able to build rapport, and in the process, they actually share life story. Actually, I was very touched by one of them who actually personally shared her personal journey as a patient. And in sharing, I can see how she can empathize with other patients, and she actually encouraged them and motivates them to move on. In the night, we have the night volunteers who comes in at 9 p.m. to 12 midnight. These night volunteers comes in as sitter, and they help us to watch over a patient who are prone to fall. In the night, our night staff ratio is a bit lower, so they play a very important role in our department. And with the night sitter at their bedside, the patient usually are more settled, and because they are very reassured with their presence. Their care and concern really goes beyond what medicine can do. And for any volunteers that come into our department, they are never left alone. We will conduct orientation, and we will brief them on what to expect. And at the bedside, we will also share with them other things like tips on how to handle them. And what they will do is that in fact, they will reassure the patient at the bedside. They will offer them waters as such. And most importantly is that they will be able to watch out for patient safety and ensure that no harm come to the patient. In fact, I'm looking for more volunteers to join us in this meaningful journey. If you are unable to volunteer on a regular basis, you actually I sincerely invite you all to come and visit the patient during the festive holidays, for example, National Day, during Christmas, or New Year. And actually, come and enjoy, come and experience for yourself the joy of giving joy to others. And you'll be really surprised how enriching it can be as you touch life. With this, I thank you.
Thank you, Sister Meg, for being our spokesman and chief recruiter. You've heard from the nurse. Now you must hear from the Lokun, right? This is a hospital. Now, we have with us adjunct assistant professor Chong Kian. Kian looks after the urology department. He is very active, not just in a hospital. Kian Tai is actually a volunteer outside too, outside of the hospital. But Kian Tai is responsible also in the forming of a new patient support group, the prostate cancer support group. The prostate cancer support group was formed with the help of Michael and Dincy. Over here in Tan Tock Seng Hospital, our volunteer groups cross-train and work with each other. We're probably the only hospital with a volunteer management committee with volunteer leaders. And here they help me come up with new solutions and resolve problems. And also in setting up new groups. Now, Kian Tai, perhaps you can tell us how the Lokun feels.
Thank you, Eunice. Being a doctor, I'm a medical doctor and a surgeon, but I feel like just one small part of on a pizza, you are just probably a tomato on top. Because it seems to every one of us knows that patients, care and disease management includes everyone in their life. Love and care from the family and the support around them. The doctor will see you for 5 minutes or so, or 10 minutes, depending on how long. We can give certain things, but it takes a community. We know that it needs a community a village to bring up a kid, right? Similarly, you need a community of love to support patients. So my personal journey is that being a cancer surgeon, I do see a lot of patients for prostate cancer, bladder cancer, and kidney cancer in their terminal stages. I hold their hands, some of them, on their dying beds, and until now, almost from all the years of my life being a medical doctor, no single patient has told me that, doctor, I wish that when I was younger, I should have worked harder to get another project. Doctor, I should have stayed for extra time in the office so that I can get another $1 million. Or doctor, I should have done more work or so that I can buy another house. Nobody has told me that. The main thing they have told me is that I should have spent more time with my loved ones, with my family, my children, my spouse, or the people around them. That's very powerful, because if these are the images and the experience from them, for all of us living through life until that stage, we should re-examine our life, and that's how I look at it. I was privileged to be sent by Singapore government to New York, one of the top cancer centers in the world, and that was about during the Lehman Brothers. And it's a famous hospital, so I see directly many famous people. One of them was a chief financial officer from one of the banks that was being collapsed and rescued. So I was asking him, don't you have work to do at Wall Street? No, Wall Street is not important. My family is worried about me. I need to be here. So what if, things around you collapse? It's the people who you love that's important. So with this training, I'm privileged to be a cancer surgeon. And upon coming back, you know that our volunteer development is the only department with a management committee in the whole Singapore that runs volunteer groups for people like us. And because Tan Tock Seng sees that this is a value and very important part of healthcare. So together with the support from my head of department, Chong in Urology department, we also consulted Michael and also Dincy to help us start the prostate cancer support group about 2 years ago. It's been a wonderful journey. For the first 6 months, the patients do get didactic, special lectures from us to teach them the whole array of cancers and treatment and nutrition. But after that, they have started taking over, and some of our members are in the group as well. The nice thing about this is that when the patients, say wife asks me what to cook, I say, I don't know, ask her. I have no idea. I only know the medical part and what to do, how they handle their daily stress, their life, and what to do day to day. I'm a doctor. I don't know. I frankly tell them I know the medical part, So I've also learned from my professors that these are the things that humble me. As a doctor, I know I can do things at some part, but I should try to comfort always, but I can't always do everything for them. So having these patients supporting each other, I have a range of patients from the oldest, 80-something years old, and to the youngest, our youngest group is 30-something years old, with cancer spread to the lungs and the bone with young kids. So this is a range of people that we have with prostate cancer. And having their family and speaking to each other actually helps them cope the emotional, social, psychological, and planning ahead for what to do with their loved ones and the treatment. So until now, I'm very grateful. Every month, there's a meeting. They share with each other their life. Now they become friends, supporting each other. Just like what Michael and Dincy said, once you meet each other, you're going to have friends. They smile every single time I go in. So I'm just amazed, They probably read what Dr. William wants to do. But they are so friendly to each other, and a lot of them has also become official volunteers to speak to other patients. I think it's a powerful thing that as a doctor, I'm humbled by what they can do that I cannot do. I cannot do that. So I'm very grateful that at least in the hospital, there's an active department managing the volunteers. And as doctors, I think we should, I'm training my junior doctors too. I have trainees, and I tell them that what we learn is only in a textbook, and what we can do with our hands as surgeons or physicians. The nurses, the paramedics, volunteers, families are actually the people healing your patient, not us. With that, I thank you.
Thanks, Kian. Now,
we'll now like to open the floor for any questions that you may have for the panelists today. We think we have a bit of time to answer some of your questions or queries. In fact, for the participants in the 2 conference rooms, you can see me now, you may write your questions on paper and to pass them over to my colleagues in the room. They will bring us the questions over. There are also microphones along the aisles for the in the theaterette. You may also use the microphones along the aisles to check with us on a few things for our panelists today. Well, may I have the privilege to ask the first question then?
Yes, sure.
Yeah. In fact, I was listening to Duncun Ho. Yeah, in fact, you mentioned about the night CTA program. Are there any skill sets that's required for volunteers who wants to be in the program? I'm just curious. I think members of the audience would like to know too.
Okay, when I first started the night sitting program, one of the challenges is to actually stay awake. Because to be honest, for the night sitting, often at that time, right, most of the time, the patients are actually sleeping at that time. And so what you need to do is just sit around and watch after the patient. And to be honest, sitting there doing nothing for 3 hours is quite a challenge. Especially 9 to 12 p.m. is actually a normal timing for people to actually get into sleep. And that I'm not excluded as well. So that's a challenge. So then subsequently, as I do more and more practice, I tend to get used to the timing. And that's where I start to get used to it. And one of the skill sets they need to have is probably handling patients' frustration in the night. Because as this patient in the night, they are very frustrated in the sense that because it's a very unfamiliar environment, yes, it causes a lot of anxiety in the patients. And at the same time, the nurse is always very busy attending to other patients. And in a sense, in their perspective, they have this sense that, hey, I'm being neglected. And they tend to have this kind of frustration, and sometimes profanities is even being spread out. So you need to have this kind of patient to actually hear to them and actually explain to them the situation. And often, more usually, they will actually listen to your advice and hear you to explain the situation, and things tends to be much better after that.
Thank you, Duncan. Anyone else with questions for our volunteers, panelists? Oh, we have a lady here.
Hi, this is Tracy from National Healthcare Group Polyclinics. We could see that all of you are very passionate in what you're doing, with a heart, wanting to reach out to patients and their families. My question to you is that how do you then translate that passions to the rest of the volunteers and keeping that passion alive and sustaining the team. Because in this society right now, we're all very busy with a lot of work, especially getting the younger generation and other people who are out there very busy with their schedule to also have this volunteering spirit and join the group. How do you sustain the group? Yeah.
Michael, would you like to take that? Thanks.
How to sustain the group? But first, we are patients. We want to be healthy. So when we are healthy, we also like our fellow healthy people to be healthy. So prevention. Prevention is another factor where healthy patients, healthy people, who could be caregivers, who could be neighbors, could be friends. Like in my group, I have about 20% who are non-patients. They came, they joined us every Sunday, 7:30 in the morning. In the past was 7 a.m. So we changed. Because some have to go to church, go to market, and got to do anything in the morning. So we organize activities. We have outings sometimes, not always, because people think that, hey, these are social groups. But we have value-added activities. So, and occasionally we will have talks. Even when we went for outing away from Singapore, we also visit associations like the Heart Association. And the members, as far as our members are concerned, they are very neat. They are always in contact with one another. And they know one another so well that it's just a phone call away. And especially when we meet on a Sunday morning, without fail, rain or shine. Even if there's a heavy shower, when the rain fizzles off, we will still be there for a cup of coffee. So that's how we maintain and keep the group going. There is no magic formula, but it is because the love of being together, the camaraderie, that is how we speak a common language, heart.
Thank you, Mr. Michael Paul.
Can I also answer?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So I have been volunteering since my teenagers until now, when I had hair until no hair. So what I realized is that when you start young, most of the time the school will tend to ask you to do something that is useful, either for your ECA points or something, right? But the difficulty is how to sustain it for the long term. I don't think there's an easy answer, but the short 3 things I realized that may be important. One is to find out along the stage of our life, what is important to you outside of work that will help you. Because when you're in the 20s, 30s, 40s, I mean, you may have different stages of like after school. Then secondly, you must get the people who wants to continue to give them something meaningful to do with a community that share the same passion. So if you have someone that you know and you want to have friends, hey, why you not here this time? You pull along together as a community, similar to the community that is formed in all support groups or even any volunteer groups. Then the third thing I feel is some form of structure for them to be able to do the community and getting more people in. And that's where maybe you need funding, maybe you need programs, maybe you need heads of program to say kindness is an important thing, you need to do ageism or different things that sustain. Must be a structure. If not, you'll be floating around like floaters, you may not know what to do. So I thought these 3 may be important. School-wise is easy. Tell them need ECA points, most will come. Or they have to come, right? Then after that, how to sustain? Maybe that's the challenge we all have for volunteers.
Passion to me is like a fire. It begins with a spark, and you just have to nurture it and then let it just grow, spread out. Now, how do I keep my volunteers with me. We have been together for quite a few years. I have my own way of selecting people to join me as volunteers. First of all, they have to be my members. They're the members of the colon cancer support group, and they're colon cancer patients. I know them. We are small, our membership is small, so we are a small group, so I would know most of them. And I will see for myself which ones are likely to be good volunteers to work with me. And then I would approach the person. I look for the two criteria I look for. One is availability. Are you able to spend time with me? Are you able to spend time away from your family to look after other patients? Family is most important. It comes first. And the second thing I look for is the spirit of commitment. You have to be committed. It's not a fancy thing. It's something that I just like to do, try out. There's no trying out. When I approach as a person, would you like to volunteer with me, join the support group? Let me try out. I right away know I'm not having you joining me. So there are ways, deep down in me, I have this gut feeling about people, whether I could work together well, and also to be able to receive their kindness. Not all people can give kindness, and I like to have that kindness. As a group, we work together, we heal one another, and then we'll be able to help to heal colon cancer patients in our counseling. That's it.
Right. Thank you, Dincy.
Thank you.
Yes, sure, Michael.
Well, the volunteers comes from different background. Well, especially in our group, we play buddy system. We will be overwhelmed if they come. We'll be very sad if they don't come. But when they come, we will ensure that they will not leave the group, because they will feel the warmth, they will feel wanted, and they will look forward to the next exercise. Because it is very important. They may miss out something if they do not come. But as a volunteer, sincerity is the utmost important, because if you are sincere, you come with a smile. Because sincerity comes with happiness. You come with the objective in mind that I have my friends, and I long to be with my friends. And that will help us as patients recover faster, and we'll be, our sickness will be better and keep us in good shape. I think that is most important. So that's why even in polyclinics, I hope that they will be able to start support groups, because you will be at the receiving end. After patients being discharged, to look for a leader, it can be a problem. But to help to start is not an issue. Let us know. We can help you to start. We can help you to scout leaders within your group. Just give us the people, and we will help you to start a support group. And
thank you. Yes, thank you. Yes, Dr. Wan? I think you can put this here because I have thanks.
I'm very encouraged being here, because when I listen to all of you, I just feel that this is what the kindred spirit is all about. I was just thinking about this sustainability, and I wanted to explain what TKP was, and I should do it now because it has to do with the sustainability. One of the biggest issue I think we face, when somebody asks me, what's the biggest challenges to being kind? Why are people not showing kindness? And I said the biggest challenge is not because we're not kind. Actually, innately, I believe we're all kind. But somehow we have developed this bo chap attitude. You know, it's not my problem, then it's not my problem. So the bo chap attitude is, to me, the biggest problem to sustainability. So the TKP stands for Tua Kepo. We really have to be the Tua Kepo. All of you are Tua Kepos. A lot of people look at you and say, why, you got nothing better to do, meh? Huh? Go and spend all this time volunteering. Go and make more money, lah. Huh? You see, that is a problem, yeah? That is a problem. So, and if I may, Eunice ask for your permission, huh?
Yes, please.
Just now, I only didn't have a good chance to say, you can come and help Kindness Movement to help yourself. On the 16th of November, we are dealing with this issue, are you the bo chap kind? So if you can come, those of you who chap, come and help us to inspire others to chap. Yeah? And then you bring your friends who now not so chap, say come and be inspired, because a lot of young people are going to be who have started what they call the small kindness movement, like, you know, the young people you read about in the papers who have started this and that and doing all kinds of kind things. They are going to inspire us. So this is an opportunity for us to be the village, work together to foster kindness and get more volunteers. So it's the 16th of November, only half a day, lunch provided. Go to kindness.sg. Come and join us.
Everyone, please give a warm round of applause to Dr. William Wan and our panelists here today and our moderator, Eunice. Thank you so much for sharing your invaluable insights. May I keep you panelists on stage for the moment while I invite our Chief Operating Officer, Dr. Eugene So, to come on stage to present the token of appreciation. Shall we invite Tushar Hari? Mr. Duncun Ho, thank you for coming today. There's also Mr. Michael Poe. Thank you for sharing so many stories about your support group. Thank you. Mrs. Dincy Lim as well, you are inspiration too. We have Sister Magdalene Lim. Thank you so much for coming today to join us. Perfect Jung, Assistant Professor Chong. Chong Ken Tai, yes. I would like to invite Dr. William Wan to receive the token too, please. Thank you, Dr. Wan.
We'll support you.
Panelists and Dr. Wan, would you like to take a group photo together? A group photo, please.
Let's all stand closer together. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Eunice To, for moderating the session today. Thank you, panelists. Dr. Wan.
Right. Everyone, please join me in thanking this group, all our volunteers, not just those on stage, but those in the audience here and in the other rooms. Ordinary people who do extraordinary things for our patients. Oh! No, you don't get to hug.